Alrighty, welcome to episode 264 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week.
Today, we're celebrating a major milestone: 10 gigawatt hours of Tesla's utility scale storage deployed and operating across Australia. That's equivalent to about 160,000 Model Ys, or around about 750,000 Tesla Powerwall 3s. The Melbourne Renewable Energy Hub, where I am today, is one of the most recent projects to come into operation, containing hundreds of megapacks, nearly 1.6 gigawatt hours of them, operating in grid forming mode, enabling more renewable energy generation and a more resilient grid with system strength. With the launch of Megablock, our new, fully integrated, medium voltage, lock level solution, we're taking the learnings of 65 gigawatt hours of operating projects around the world and remaining focused on that innovation. We're constantly accelerating the energy transition, building a resilient, sustainable, and future-ready grid, playing our part in enabling a world of amazing abundance.
And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. And as is customary, if there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello.
Hey, it's Mike. So I'm just trying to work out how to use Zoom. I normally use
welcome,
Teams.
Mike.
So hey, thank you. I'm just trying to start the. How do I unhide? Sorry, no, I'm normally a Teams man, not a Zoom man. So bear with me.
There's a video thingy you can unmute your video.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Welcome, Mike. So tell us about you got a Tesla already, or you got one on order, or looking into one?
So I got the new Y a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just familiarizing myself, but still probably at a very basic level in terms of understanding it and how it works and what I can do with it.
Excellent.
Is that the Y? The day, which is, sorry, mate, you go.
Yep. So I was just going to say, is that the YL or the standard Model Y?
Just a standard model.
Fantastic. So you said that you've just sussed out cruise control. So I'm not certain that it is enabled at the time you get a new car for the first time, but you should also have a look at autopilot, because obviously your car comes with autopilot for free as well. But you've just got to go into the car menu, which is the little car symbol, and go into, I think it's not called autopilot, it's called something else now. Anyway, what's it called, Paul? No, you've muted.
Mine still says autopilot.
Oh, okay, autopilot. And then
Yeah.
you need to enable it so that then that becomes available for you to select whenever you're comfortable in doing so while you're driving your car.
Yep, cheers. I thought I might just drive it for a few weeks and then
Yeah.
comfy, and then give that a crack.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good thing to do. Everyone should really lean in on the car at their own pace and just get familiar with the controls, because obviously some of them are a little bit different. Most notably, obviously, you've worked out how to get into drive and park and reverse and whatever. One little pro tip is, rather than having to press and hold on the park slide button thingy on the screen when you come to a stop, well, after you've stopped, because I'm inherently lazy, I just unclick my seatbelt and then it instantly goes into park. So that's just one little pro tip that
that's a good tip.
Could be useful, because it just saves you having to do that 2 or 3 second effort to raise your finger and tap it on the screen.
If you got the technology, why not?
Oh, exactly. I mean, I guess people could say, oh, well, that's invoking, let's say, I wouldn't call it an emergency park maneuver, but it's basically the car's saying, oh, well, I've got to go and park now because the driver's unbuckled. But it's just one of those little pro tips. It works really well. And yeah, it saves you, a few seconds and maybe a few joules of energy, which is
Yep.
always good.
Cheers.
All right. And obviously, please do ask some questions. No doubt you've got lots of them, and there's no such thing as a dumb question. Every single one of us that has a Tesla back sometime in the past, whether it's days, weeks, or years ago, knew next to nothing about these cars. And, we're all on a learning journey together. Alrighty, let's just see if we can go for a daily double. Is there anyone else who is new and is comfortable in unmuting and saying hello?
Me.
Oh, yes, Rob, welcome.
Yeah. How do I unmute?
You are unmuted. So
Oh,
that's
good.
the good news is we could hear you. So,
All right. When I get a chance, I'll ask a question.
yeah, sure. And you've got a car already, or you're waiting for one?
Yeah. I've got my second Tesla Model Y.
Yes.
I picked it. That's a 26. I picked it up in March.
Yep.
And I'm loving it. Loving every minute of it. Can't get enough of it. But I bought a docking station with a gear shift to put in. Are you familiar with that at all?
Sorry, a gear shifter. What do you mean by that?
Can you read that at all?
Uh,
Hold on, that way.
oh, yeah, that's better. Docking station with gear shift. Lift it up a bit above your head. Oh, yeah, okay. This goes in your one of your thing bins and your center console, and then you
Yeah,
plug it into USB. And I presume that knob is to get park, reverse, drive, whatever. Is that
yeah,
to
it
select?
does. It's a little swivel thing. However, you've got to put it into the underneath the mirror where you've got the little downlights.
Yes.
Got to take that out to put a fitting in there.
Oh, yes, to interface
And
to the CAN bus, probably.
yeah. I've seen it on YouTube, and they say it takes about 5 minutes. Mate, I
Yep.
can't get it out. I'm just wondering if there's somebody that's done it before that might be able to give me a hand.
Anyone?
Aunt Day said to go to Tiago in Aussie Park, but they wanted the car for a week. I just thought there might be somebody who's tried to do it before. So there's
No,
that.
you might want to look at a couple of other YouTube videos because, in fact, I noticed on my new Model Y that I got a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
it was really interesting. There was actually a little pry tool in the center console, which I thought was super duper interesting. I don't really know what it was there for, but I obviously gleefully accepted it.
Yeah.
So I suggest you just look at a few more YouTube videos of
Yeah.
people prying it off
Yeah.
because sometimes these things, when you've got a brand new car that costs, dozens of thousands of dollars, everyone sort of winces at pulling things off.
Yeah.
And most of these things are on those clips
Yeah.
that you have to be, it seems you have to be a lot more violent than you think you should be, but
Yeah.
it's all okay as long as you're pulling it in the correct direction. Once you overcome that friction and latching force, it'll just pop
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Sure.
So,
I've got bits of it off.
yep,
If they get the little lever right in behind it and I could move it, but then the piece of the lever broke off the end. It was
yeah,
so
right, yep,
difficult to get out.
yep.
I,
I would look at some more videos
yeah,
because the more times you see different people doing it, you
yeah,
might be able to work out a better way.
a better way.
Often it's if you can get your fingers in, or once you've pried a little bit, get your fingers in, and you've got to sort of like jerk it. You've got to reef it
Yeah,
with a fair bit of force to get it that momentum in your fingers to
yeah.
actually pop it off.
Okay.
Not that I've done it yet, before, but I've popped off many other panels and things in the
Yeah,
in various Teslas. And like I said, it's you often have to apply what naturally feels like an excessive amount of force. And
yeah,
sometimes it's better not to keep pulling with more force, but to do that sort of jerking motion where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a hammering sort of motion because that that seems to work better.
Okay. Would that be
Uh,
the same sort of thing you can? I'll have a look at some more videos. I've only actually watched one video, and it was an American guy. So I just wondered if there's a difference between the Teslas coming out of America and the Teslas coming out of
Yep.
China.
They're very, very, look, I dare say the parts are effectively identical. In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
they basically are functionally identical, if not
Okay.
actually identical. They
All
obviously
right.
come from two different hemispheres, or
Yeah.
well, yeah, sides of the earth,
Size of the
but but all the actual parts and the design and all that sort of stuff would be all
central.
but identical, like
Okay.
literally.
So there would be videos too. So the other thing that I bought was so you can move the screen around.
Oh
Uh,
yes, a
is
swivel, yes. So
is
this, look,
that
the screen is super easy. One of the first steps off from memory is you've got the cowling underneath the screen or going
yeah,
around the base,
yeah,
the shaft of where it's mounted.
yep,
And uh, the bottom part actually contains a fan which draws air for a temperature sensor. So
yep,
if you actually look underneath, you'll see like it looks like a speaker grill
yeah, yeah,
with holes with perforations, and there's a little fan behind there, and that's for again. I think it's basically the way the car measures the cabin air temperature, or
yep,
one of the ways. So you've got to take that out, and then you've actually only got two main fixings, which I think are Torx. I think it's a Torx head, two
mm,
bolts, and when
yep,
you basically disconnect them, you can then pull the screen out, and you've got to bear in mind there's actually a coaxial cable connector
yeah,
that connects the screen to the car, and
yeah,
then that swivel thing you basically effectively put that in series with the screen. So you put one end of the swivel connector into the car, the other end into the screen. So I dare say it probably pops the screen out slightly, comes out a slight amount because
right.
the swivel has to take up some space, and then you can swivel it to bias towards yourself as the driver or your passenger
All
or
right.
central.
You sound pretty familiar with that one. Have you done it yourself?
No, but I've removed a couple of screens doing other
Okay.
interesting things of screens,
All right.
but not the swivel kit. But in principle, it's the same thing. You're effectively taking the screen out.
Yeah.
You are then putting in this coupling,
Yeah.
which at one end duplicates the screen and at the other end duplicates the car so that you can plug the screen into it and then it into the car. So
All right.
yeah, look, none of this stuff's difficult. And there are a lot of videos that do show it fairly well.
All right.
So again, I'd just encourage you to just browse through some of the videos,
Hmm.
get familiar with it, and then you just got to start being a bit adventurous.
All right. Well, I hope it turns out to be easier than the docking station, because my goodness gracious me, that was nowhere near. I got bits of it off, but the rest of it's still up there. And I won't. Anyway, I might have to get something different to lever it out with, because the one that I got is broken. The lever that I've got that they
Yeah, you can
come in.
look if you've got an Amazon account, if you look up pry levers for cars, you get whole sets. It's all plastic, which is a
Yeah.
good thing actually. You want it. I'd rather your tool break than you break a part of the car.
Yeah.
But look, you can get them for I don't know, not very much.
Yeah.
Lot of this stuff sort of approaches almost no cost. So a few dollars or $10 or something. So
So it was
um,
an Amazon. What did you call it in Amazon?
I just say Amazon.com. Like if you've got an Amazon account,
Yeah.
Amazon delivers for free.
But what did you call the parts?
Just a pry tool. So an automotive pry tool, plastic pry tool, PRY, to pry things
Yeah.
off. Um,
Okay.
In fact, I was going to look around. I've probably actually got pry tools all over the joint because you end up sort of collecting them. Because often when you buy accessories, they'll come with the pry tool,
Yeah.
which is probably like the one you broke. So
Yeah.
you can
Right.
get lots and look, I dare say even Super Cheap Auto or Repco
Yeah.
or whoever, I'm sure they sell them too because these days everyone's pulling their cars apart to do interesting things to them.
Well, I've got an account at Super Cheap Auto. I can go out there. Oh, no, that's
Yeah,
good, mate.
yeah, we'll give it a go. Yeah, or just better still, let your fingers do the walking and look on their website and
Yeah,
just search Pry Tool,
yeah.
and no doubt they'll be there.
All right.
When all else fails, try Grok. Usually steps you through mechanical
Yeah,
stuff.
yep, yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good idea.
What was that,
All right,
Darren?
let's go use Grok.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Artificial
Yeah,
intelligence.
yeah, yeah, yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah. Good idea.
Um,
All right.
alrighty.
Next
But
person.
yeah, next person. So let's try for a triple. Don't know. I'm always pushing my luck, but let's go for a trifecta. If there's anyone else who is new.
Hi, I'm Phil. How are you doing?
Oh, Phil, welcome. And thanks for being the third person. Thanks for that. Um, tell us about your car.
So I'm looking at purchasing a Y
Yep.
with FSD, but I have a few little concerns about the FSD with low-lying fog, and whether it would brake for that or whether it would just act as it was fog and just keep going.
No. So, well, I guess the first question is, so you're buying a second-hand
No,
Model
no, I'm
Y.
looking at buying a new Model Y.
Oh, and then you're going to rent Tesla, and then you're going to
Rent, yeah,
subscribe to
yeah,
FSD.
yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Yeah,
Were you looking at a Model Y L or this a standard Model
just
Y?
a standard Model Y.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. So as far as FSD is concerned, the great thing is if the car can't see properly, then it will disengage in it will sort of tell you it's in a degraded mode. So not it might not be able to do all the functions it's supposed to do. So it'll warn you that initially.
yeah.
But in the limit, if it literally has not got enough vision to perform properly, it will disengage FSD or not engage it. One thing about fog that uh, many of us have noticed is on a few laps I've done, especially near Canberra, there's depending on what part of the year, you can get some pretty thick fog, and it looks
Yeah.
super duper impressive, and you can barely see the tail lights of cars in front, and this is like on the Hume Highway,
Yeah.
and it's super. You just can't see. If you take a photo of it with your phone, it looks a lot less than it really looks to your eyes. And if you look at the dash cam footage, again, it looks a lot less worse than what your eyes perceive. I don't know what that is, whether it's a depth perception thing or I just don't know how that works, or the optics, whatever. So the main thing is FSD will not continue to run if it's blind and can't see adequately. So it will self-heal in that it will revert to you as the driver and say, look, Barley's, I'm out of here. I can't do this. So,
Okay. Yeah, because
so definitely,
I was a little concerned because obviously I do a fair amount of country night driving,
yep.
and the last thing I wanted it to do was to jump hard on the brakes and there be a rig behind me who's not going to stop.
Oh, well, look, um, I mean, you might not have seen last week's show, but if you have a look on
I
YouTube,
did see the animals
oh,
and then the
yep,
skid marks. Yeah,
yes, okay.
yeah,
So the version of software that's currently on the new cars, so the hardware for cars,
yep,
uh, with the exception of the Model Y Ls who have got no FSD at the moment, but that's another reason. But they will get it. The software at the moment is the worst it will ever be. So Tesla is retraining new models and getting rid of some of the bugs from the previous ones. And obviously, one of the bugs is this phantom braking for truck skid marks.
yep,
Now, as I explained in last week's video, it was the way it braked so well that convinced me that it was pointless in me at night time driving with my foot hovering over the accelerator, getting ready to stab the brake, and my hands ready to to steer.
yeah,
I knew the car was going to perform much better than I ever could, and therefore it was logical to just let it do its thing. Yes, of course, if you're in the outback or remote area and there's a big rig, right behind you. Look, I never did the experiment. I never had the opportunity to do the experiment. The car definitely, well, actually, I saw bits of it. The car carefully moved out of the way of a kangaroo carcass on the road with another vehicle coming in the opposite direction at this almost the same time. And I
Yep.
think what the car did was actually slowed down. Normally, it would just put the indicator on, overtake, and then come back. But because a car was coming the other direction, or a truck, I forget what it was, a vehicle, it slowed down rather than simply changing lanes, so that by the time the kangaroo was near, the vehicle coming in the opposite direction had already passed, and then it could overtake safely. So it's definitely aware of its surrounding environment, such as other vehicles. So I dare say the car, if it thought there was something on the road, it probably might not have braked so hard because it knows that someone behind it might rear end it.
Yep.
But don't take that as gospel. But I'm fairly certain the car does measure those parameters and adjust its
Braking according.
its braking and all that stuff accordingly. So, but like I said, the current version 14.3 is the very worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah,
So
I've been watching some of Joseph's footage with it sort of going wide and clipping curbs and just being a little bit indifferent.
and was that version 14?
14.3.3 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, it's the worst it'll ever be. By definition, you as the driver, you are still the driver in Australia. At the moment, it is
Yeah.
supervised. So at any opportunity, if there's anything about what the car is doing, so if it's steering in the wrong place, for example, what version 14 does a lot, which is a little bit frustrating, is if there's a slip road, it's so hell bent on dutifully staying to the right, to the left, keeping
Yeah.
left, that it will actually keep left by going into a slip road, which is
Yeah.
not ideal. Now, you can stop that quite effectively by simply putting on the indicator to the right, and it will then come back into the correct lane. Or if you first detect that the left indicator gets turned on, because it is polite, so it will turn on an indicator before it moves, you can then just, in the Teslas, in the model, actually have the new Model 3s got stalks yet? Does anyone know? Yes, they do. Thanks, Paul. So for the very newest cars with a stalk, it's not a latching stalk, it's just a momentary stalk. So the way, if the car is, say, indicating left, or you have indicated left, the way you cancel it is just to repeat that click down in the left direction and the opposite for the right direction. So what you can do is, if the car indicates and it's going to go into this slip lane, you just do a tap down and it will usually stop it from doing that. It'll sort of like go back to the center of the lane again. So there's all these ways that you can sort of get the car to do or to not do what you don't want it to do. And of course, you can just grip on the steering wheel, apply half a kilo of force, and it will disengage FSD or autopilot for that matter, if you're in autopilot, and you're in full control. The other thing, of course, you can do is, if it is aggressively braking and you know that it's not what it should be doing, you can push through that with the accelerator.
Yep.
And it will then instantly stop braking and carry, and either accelerate or just stay at a steady speed according to your throttle setting. But like I said, you mentioned that you do some rural driving. I never thought until this last lap that Tesla would be able to solve Australian wildlife conditions. I actually thought it would never really happen properly, and that at best they might have a special rural package that you'd have to invoke, and
Yeah.
it might be less crappy than it otherwise would be. But with this latest lap, I literally know the car's got me. Yes, there's these phantom braking things, but look, as you know, when you're on a remote road, especially at night time, you know if there's someone behind you because you
Yeah,
can't
you
miss
can
them.
see that.
You know,
You can
you can
see them
see
from a
them.
mile away.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I think it's all good. I can tell you now that for $149 a month, it's definitely worth it because if you've, let's face it, over 4 years of ownership, paying for $149 a week, that's only $7,000, and that's a great bit of peace of mind knowing the car is looking after you. You know, at only 7 grand for 4 years. And let's face it, many people don't keep cars for much longer than that, depending on their situation.
Yeah, I've had mine for 10.
Oh, look, and good on you. In which case, if you were able to have purchased FSD for 10 grand, that would have been a good deal for 10 years, definitely. But unfortunately, that time has passed.
All right, perfect. Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, no worries, Philip. Absolute pleasure. All right, let's try and go for the quartet. I know we're probably going to crash and burn. In fact, it's like playing high jump. You're going to crash and burn at the last attempt anyway, always. Is there a fourth person that would like to say hello?
I would, Harold. Can you hear me?
Martin. Hello, stranger. In fact, you've even got a photo of an old-fashioned supercharger there, Martin.
Yeah, they're Bunbury from Eaton, the original Eaton chargers.
Yes, the very first one we got.
Yeah, I just had a question, if you don't mind, about
Yes.
the going through the Bunbury bypass. My my car doesn't know where to go, basically. And I wondered if people with full self-driving, how does that cope with the confusion around the bypass?
It basically doesn't, in the sense that really to use FSD, especially version 14, it really wants you to have a navigation route. So effectively what happens is, because as it stands now, if you're traveling south past Bunbury, so say you're coming from Perth wanting to go to Margaret River or whatever, the way they've laid it out now, the default position is if to go to Bunbury, you have to actually get off the highway. Because if you keep going straight, you're then on the bypass.
Yep.
Because that's the default setting. The car at that part, look, I haven't tried it. We've all got, or many of us have got a map update, which is 2026.8. Now, you won't actually, the car doesn't really tell you there's been an update, a map update. You just have to look on your menu and software, and you'll see there's a version for your autopilot or whatever, FSD. It'll be 2026 dot something dot whatever. Then there'll be a separate section that says navigation data. I think that's what it's called. And it'll have its own release version. And the car you don't formally install it. It just downloads and gets done automatically, providing your car's on Wi-Fi. And I know a mate of mine's car, he got his map yesterday or today.
Oh, okay, just recently.
So, yeah, just recently. So there's a recent rollout.
Oh, okay,
so,
good.
And the thing is, it'll come to your car silently and you won't know about it unless you look it up. So I haven't yet done that Bunbury bypass. I'm certain it will be in there now because the bypass was done, middle last year or a little bit later than that, or sorry, earlier than that. So it'll definitely be in the current update, the 2026 map update. But in answer to your question, even if it wasn't, the way you handle it is if the car goes in a direction that you don't want, you just take control. You just keep driving forwards,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and then you can re-engage FSD or autopilot.
Yep.
And then you sometimes get this. We used to get this ridiculous thing where the blue line would actually be facing backwards,
That's
and it
right.
would actually be lengthening
It
as you
still
keep
does.
going south. Yes,
It
but
still does.
yeah, I know, and it's pretty wild actually.
Mm.
But like I said, Martin, for the case of the Bunbury bypass, the current map update or the one that's rolling out now or has rolled out now, I'm pretty certain we'll have fixed it.
And that's all the last few days, is it?
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Right. Good.
Yep. In fact, Paul, have you got the update on your car?
Oh,
Hey Harold, it's Mark
no,
here.
not yet.
Friend of mine got his, I think it was late last week, and he's navigated it fine. No
Excellent.
problem.
Excellent. So once again, one thing for you to get a map update, the only way you can get a map update is to make sure your car is connected to Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
preferably the simplest thing is when you're parked.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what the chances are if you tether your car to your phone, which Tesla now makes a lot easier because
Yeah.
under the Wi-Fi settings, there's a little tab that says enable use out of park. In other words, when your car's driving around. And that's mainly intended if people want to do things like
Oh, no,
use
we
Spotify.
update it. As soon as the software is available, we update.
Oh, yes, but like I said, the map updates don't actually ask you whether to update or not. It'll just happen.
Oh, good.
The data will be downloaded via
Good.
Wi-Fi, and it'll just install automatically. It won't even tell you that it's done it. It just does it.
Good.
So there's a chance if you look at your car, well, now under the car menu software and look down,
Yeah.
that your map will be, your navigation data will say either 2025.8 or 2026.8.
I'll test it on Friday.
Excellent. No worries.
Has anyone else there making comments, or can I make a comment? Or
No, might as well go for a double, Martin.
Well, I've got one quick comment. I would like to, just a very quick one. Thanks very much for that information, Harold. I've got an early morning, so I'm just going to depart now, but thoroughly enjoyed it. And nice to see you talking, Martin. I learned about my maps now. Should be updated.
oh, good.
Cheers.
Glad I could
Thanks.
help.
Very good.
Good on you.
Excellent,
Thank
Rob.
you.
Take care.
See you.
Yeah, go on, Martin.
I put my car in for a service a couple of months ago, and they told me that I needed new drive shafts.
hmm
I thought, oh, okay.
This is the Model S.
Model S, yes. I've had
Yep.
it for 10 years now. So I left it in day before yesterday for a service, and because I was getting some noise, I needed the tyres replaced, so they replaced them. When I went to pick up the car, they sent me. They said, "Oh, while your car was here, we found a lot of other problems with it," and presented me with a bill for $11,500.
How many kilometres, if you don't mind me asking?
160,000.
Oh, very good.
Now the thing is that
What was 11 for? How much are the shafts, Martin? Is that $3,000 or something?
well, the stuff, I guess. Look, they had it. I checked the car throughout the day because I was doing some work for my son, and I could see that it was charging all the time. Now they told me they'd done a full diagnostics on it, which they didn't. And all the other stuff is, oh, we want to replace the springs, we want to replace the front suspension, rear suspension, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to replace the drive shafts.
Oh, sorry. So is this stuff they did, or that stuff they're proposing, and they're saying
No,
that
they're
proposed?
basically saying when we changed the tyres, we noticed all this other stuff that needed doing. My only sense I can make out of all this is that they've had a look. They haven't done anything checking the car. They've had a look at the handbook and said, "Oh, 2015 S, you need to do all these things to it to keep it in check." Tomorrow morning, I'm taking it up to another.
Oh, sorry, Martin. So
Yep.
have they charged you this money, or they're proposing to do this amount of work?
No, they want to do. I said no, don't do that today. I'll so
Right,
the
right, so,
schedule.
so just to be clear,
Mm.
you presented the car because they said it needed half shafts. Did they do that, or did they
No,
just? Oh, so they've done
no,
nothing to the car. They only
no.
inspected it.
I said no.
Oh, okay.
Put the new tires on.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and everything's running fantastic, smooth as silk.
Yep.
Runs well.
Yep.
The first time when they told me that the half shafts were leaking, I took it to a friend of mine, put up on the hoist, and
Boys. Yep.
no sign of any leaking whatsoever. So I'm taking it up to a guy tomorrow, and I can give you some feedback next Wednesday on this, because I wanted to check. I mean, to replace the springs on a car, I mean, come on. I don't think that my Lexus RX 350 had nearly 200,000 kilometers on it, and I didn't change the shockies, the springs, suspension, none of that sort of stuff. So they're saying it needs to be done, but I think it's just stuff that would be nice to do rather than necessary. So I'm getting it checked out tomorrow anyway, just to.
Yeah, cool. So I was concerned that the end of your story might have been they just presented me with $11,000 bill with all these things they did without asking you permission. But
No.
okay, cool. So, that's cool. I mean, look, none of us are there. We don't know the real cause. Is it? I mean, your car's only done 160,000 Ks, but it's 12 years old or something like that. I think
2015.
So it's 11
yeah.
11 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
But has it got springs, or is it all? I thought yours was air suspension.
No air suspension on mine. No.
Oh, I thought they originally came out with air. Okay.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, look, it may be a difference of opinion. They may, like you alluded to, their procedure may be, we'll recommend this and this and this and tick those boxes.
But it wasn't a recommendation. It was, we found all this stuff on your car that needs replacing.
Well,
it was the
yes,
wording,
that's right. Yes. Yeah. And then someone else may equally say, well, yes and no, you can get by with doing not much, if anything. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's important to get a second opinion, especially on the older cars. I dare say that sort of thing doesn't happen on the younger cars, but the younger cars have much fewer problems than the older ones anyway.
Yeah.
As you know, Martin, with your drive unit, you've got problems, or there will be potentially problems that you can't do much about.
Yep.
Just because of the nature of those drive units and the old cars. The door handles, they've gone through so many revisions that the very modern versions of those door handles are bulletproof.
Yeah.
And all of the older versions are anything but.
Yeah. I know that now.
Yeah.
And by the way, we now have 7 Teslas in our family. All the kids have got Teslas.
Very good.
So.
And they're driving the safest cars in the world, which is,
I think so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Well, indisputably, they have all been rated as the world's safest cars. So that's fantastic. Excellent. Well, that's great, Martin. I see that someone called D has got their hand up. So over to you, D.
Thanks, Harold. Look, I'm a new member, so I'm sorry, I don't know the protocol, but I just wanted to, and apologies if you've covered this before already. I've just recently joined the call.
Yep.
I just wanted to check. I've recently purchased my first Tesla, so Model YL.
Yes.
And wondering if anybody's actually received the 14.3.3 update on the Model YL.
I have, but I'm on this controversial early access thingy. I mean, for my sin, within 4 days of getting the car, I went around Australia just to see if it would work, which,
Wow.
cost me thousands upon thousands of dollars in accommodation and whatever, and wear and tear. But sadly, no one else in Australia with a YL has got it. Now, it actually featured in last week's news, and that was that Tesla had basically stated that they were seeking some more fleet verification of the behavior of FSD 14 before they would enable it on any YL cars. And that's because even though it's a Model Y, it as a platform, it is substantially different in configuration and other things. So sadly, and there's so many YLs that have come into Australia, they are literally off the top of my head, I think almost half the sales currently, shipments into Australia have been YLs, and then about 30% of the remainder have been Model Ys, and then about 20% of that remainder have been Model 3s. So the YLs are dominating, but sadly, no customer cars have gotten FSD yet. And that includes customers that have actually either paid up front for FSD, which is, $10,100 if they ordered the YL before the 31st of March.
Yep.
And there's many people that did do that. So there's people that have had their cars for 7 weeks and still no sign of FSD. If you then attempt to subscribe to FSD, thankfully Tesla don't charge you the subscription. And everyone who has subscribed or has either transferred FSD from a previous car or purchased it outright has gotten, I think it's now 2 emails from Tesla saying, look, we're still working on it and we're doing it as quickly as we can. But sadly, there's no time frame. And like I said, I'm an unusual case. I guess many people think I am quite unusual. And all I can plead for my sins is I expended thousands of dollars in accommodation and charging and whatever to give it a go. And I did that as quickly as well, not quite humanly possible, but I did it. I got on a Friday and left at 2:30 a.m. on a Monday, the following Monday. And that's why I can confirm, as far as kangaroos, foxes, cats, all that stuff, it is superhuman, and that is such a wonderful thing to know. So
well, I hope
really
to do that adventure soon as well around Australia. But I guess, is there any way that we can opt in to an early access, or is that?
No, and it's no. And it seems the original intent of early access was it was like dipping their toe in the water of, normally it's engineers test it first, then employees, because employees are more expendable than the general public. Then you've got a small tranche of the general public, so that they sort of limit the damage if something goes awry. A lot of the early access people, particularly in the Eastern Seaboard, are so-called influencers. So they're YouTubers and well, basically mostly YouTubers that have got it. So I guess Tesla rely on a bit of positive publicity and whatever. Unfortunately, there was some time ago, some years ago in the States, where there was an ability to request. I think it might even still be happening. I've seen some ex posts that where people claim they asked if they could join the early access program and they were invited to do so. But sometimes you've got to take that with a bit of a pinch of salt. Look, to be honest, there are. Yeah, no worries. I mean, to be honest, there are some aspects of even version 14 that is now in wide release where I'm thinking, if you're not paying attention, you could get bitten. So, for example, the one where it so much wants to be in the left-hand lane that when it goes into a slip road, some slip roads actually end with concrete barriers in the sense that you've got curbing, because a slip road is going to a T intersection invariably. And many of those T intersections have curbing at the end of them. And if you're not totally paying attention, I'm not quite certain that the car would be able to stop or do something in time to avoid possibly hitting a curb at the speed limit. So there are some aspects of version 14 that, yeah, you could say is appropriate to have limited release so that Tesla's got time to wrinkle out, well, to iron out some of the wrinkles. But anyway, it is what it is. But look, hopefully soon. I know there's another build being trained, and it's obviously getting trained at Tesla's Cortex 1 or 2 supercomputer, and it's being trained at the moment. So hopefully when we get, say, version 14.3.4 or something, then hopefully it'll come to the YLs. For what it's worth, I do know that my YL, as opposed to my wife's Y, on a very tight roundabout, a very small one near my place, mine will actually ride over the mountable curb that's in the center. That's intended for buses and rubbish trucks and, whatever. So mine dutifully rides over the back wheel rides over it because the car's about a foot longer. So I dare say some of it's got to do with, making the car adapt or the system adapt for the extra length of the Model YL.
Yeah, understand. Look, thanks, mate. Appreciate you answering the questions.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. All right. Anyone else that's got any questions or comments? Oh, actually, I'm going to go straight to James because James, incidentally, has done a lap of Australia. And then because he's starting to get that, I describe myself as being rather road trip demented, and I think James is sort of developing that trait. So, James, you're on last.
Harold.
It's a disease, and sometimes it's communicable, even just over the airwaves. So last week, James had told us about his journey up. James, you weren't at Cairns, I don't think, but you're on the way that.
We were just
that
short of
way.
Cairns. We're
Yes.
we were there the night before we went to Cairns last.
So-
Yeah.
And so, for reference, James and Janine have actually basically travelled the equivalent of a lap because Cairns is basically diagonally opposite opposite Perth. So they could easily have
With our
turned it
lap,
into.
yeah. With our lap, we did at Easter, we did 12,998 kilometers. And our Cairns trip, I've just added up, we did 12,550 kilometers. So we were 300 kilometers shorter.
Short of a lap. So,
Yeah.
so there you go. So, James, tell us how the return journey was.
It was brilliant. Down the coast, Tesla chargers all the way.
Sorry, which coast?
Inland, down the east coast, Tesla chargers all the way. So we did a to Broken Hill, Cobar, Charleville, through the middle of outback New South Wales and Queensland on the way up there. So we were getting 50 kilowatt, 75 kilowatt chargers, which I must say wasn't so bad because in the middle of nowhere, you parked up, you had an hour. So we'd go to a town, and we knew we had an hour to explore the town, which was good. We never worried about that. But just the world of difference. Once we hit Cairns and came south, we didn't even have time to go to the toilet. Plugged into the supercharger. By the time we got to the toilet, your car was done. So it's
Oh,
just
you
that two
poor
different
bubby.
ways.
Oh,
Couldn't get any food, couldn't do anything like that. We nearly starved to death on the way home until we hit the Nullarbor. It's nice to see this is our 7th trip across the Nullarbor, and I think it was actually our worst trip across the Nullarbor. The more they build, the worse it gets. Charger's not working. On the way over there, we got charged $110 to charge our car at Balladonia. We waited for 3 hours in Norseman because we could only use AC. We got 2.4 kilowatts on the DC charger at Kaiguna. And we got 20 kilowatts at the NMRA at so it took us twice as long to get across the Nullarbor this time as it did our first time 7 crossings ago.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, I don't even think at the time Kaiguna was on the naughty list. I think that was normally putting out 24 kilowatts. 24. So, of course, unknown to anyone, what was it, a day or two before you got there?
Yep.
It suddenly started getting this 2.5/2.8 kilowatt disease at random, which is just appalling to the point where Stan Gorton, he's from Kangaroo Island. He's done a lap and he's actually on his second, I think he's about to finish his second lap, this time in a Zika. He was there actually at the time when there was I think it was two BYDs. I think that's right. And then his Zika. The two gentlemen were getting 2.4 and 2.8 kilowatts respectively. He rocks up, plugs into the Type 2, and the Type 2 was providing 9 kilowatts. So an AC charger was putting out more power than a 50 kilowatt tritium. And that's clearly a fault of the system because that, in fact, I think he found out later, and James, you worked out, you can tell a story about what power you got on the AC.
Yeah, well, I mean, the surprising thing is it should be easy. 2 of those guys did not have the AC charging cables, so they were really stuck. I plugged in my AC charger and I got the full 11 kilowatts, but I was the only one there. Obviously, there was no one else using the DCs. But Tesla has the limit we can only charge 11 kilowatts. When I looked at the charger itself, it did say it was offering up 32 amps. So if I was in a car that capable, I probably could have got the 22 kilowatt AC charging.
Yes.
But there is good news because I had a walk around while I was waiting. I was lucky. I still only had to charge for half an hour because I stopped at Kaiguna where there's a wonderful UWA provided charger at Cocklebiddy. So Cocklebiddy has the 22 kilowatt charger.
Sorry about that.
And that yep. So the Cocklebiddy has a nice 24 or 20 kilowatt charger at a price of $25, which I think is a reasonable price for the middle of nowhere. So we charge up fully on that. So we only had to wait for an hour, but a lot of people are getting stuck there. A lot of EVs are turning up and not knowing what to do. Best thing is there appears to be a brand new 150 kilowatt solar array out the back of Kaiguna, recently erected, not connected though. So hopefully that will improve the situation.
Yes, and if you look at ChargeFox, who are the billing provider for the WAV network, they say they do mention power upgrades. Well, they mention that the low power of the Kaiguna charger, well, according to them, the low power is 30 kilowatts, but obviously, as James and others have found, it's between 2.4 and 2.8 kilowatts for the DC. They do allege they've moved the goalposts. Last month they alleged those works would be completed by the end of June. Now they allege they'll be complete by the end of July. And I'm certain that in August they'll allege they'll be complete by the end of August. So who knows?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, do yourself a favour, get across Australia. It's great to do an EV. It's doable. Just don't be in a hurry. We're back today on Wednesday because we left 2 extra days. We're school teachers, so we've got to back at work next week. But we plan to have a 2-day buffer in there just in case things went wrong, and we didn't need it. And we didn't need it because we just planned. It did mean 2 late nights and early mornings driving, but it's part of the adventure. But we met somebody going across there. They were having a wonderful time. They were just going 2 stops and then camping. And, your first time across the Nullarbor, there are things to see. And we still enjoyed driving it. But, yeah, in a nation such as Australia, when you can't cross from one side of the country to the other, Baladonia is still a problem. Be careful in Baladonia. We arrived, there's already another car charging. We're both getting just enough charge to get the next stop, and the whole site shut down again. Luckily this time, so two cars, sunny afternoon. We arrived at 1:30 in the afternoon, both of us. He got there about 1:15. I got there about 1:30. We're both charging for an hour because you only get, with two cars charging, you only get 24 kilowatts. So after an hour of charging, the system crashed because the batteries were depleted on the site. Luckily, after about 3 to 4 minutes, the genset did start up. About another 3 or 4 minutes, the charger restarted. I had enough to get to Norseman, but he still needed another 10 minutes to get to his next stop because he was trying to skip over, go directly to Majura Pass.
So to that end, as far as, the real solution is Tesla just installing superchargers because the super positive experiences on the eastern seaboard, well, in fact, let's face it, from Cairns all the way to Port Augusta, has shown how good supercharging is, and the bitter experiences that dozens upon dozens of people have had either across the Nullarbor or parts of WA and elsewhere.
Yeah. The interesting thing we found, is that WA is so unique that when you get to a charging station, there is no second option. In Queensland, I would say they were second most unreliable. However, Queensland was different. When you go to town X, you could look on the map and see which one was working and go left or right. We made a few deviations like that, and you could do it so we got somewhere and we go, this one's not working, so we can go left and go to another town. Equally as nice, equally as interesting. We're still traveling the same general direction, and it didn't really affect us. Whereas in WA, on our lap, you couldn't go. You had no choice. You had to go to a petrol station roadhouse and charge for 22 hours on a 15-amp plug. That was the only choice you had.
So a little glimmer of hope is that this thing's out of date by a few days, but if you look at, this is a supercharger voting monitoring document, and Baladonia is comfortably out in front at in excess of 687 votes. Basically 100 votes clear of Ceduna, which is actually unimportant because either of these locations gets us closer to the eastern seaboard with superchargers. And Norseman, which was the more of a worry, is well in third position, which is great because it all but guarantees that Baladonia is going to be the Q2 2026 supercharger voting winner, which means that Tesla has committed or will commit to installing a supercharger in Baladonia. Now, of course, you may say, well, so what? That's just one supercharger. The thing is, the nearest supercharger to the west of Baladonia is, well, actually, it's Albany, as far as a direct route, or Karrinyup for that matter. So we do know that Southern Cross is a supercharger site winner. And as of a couple of weeks ago, they haven't actually installed anything yet, but they've gotten council approval, which was a long and tortuous process to get that, but they've got that. So Tesla will be installing superchargers at Merredin, Southern Cross, Coolgardie/Kalgoorlie, Norseman, which is why you don't actually need to vote for Norseman, because by voting for Baladonia guarantees Norseman gets built in any case. So that's why you need to be strategic in voting for supercharger locations, because you always want to vote for one that's 2 or 3 locations away from the nearest supercharger, because you know Tesla is not going to leave a shag on a rock. It will backfill. So I guess, James, one little snippet of positivity is, look, if we get Belladonna up, which is all but certain, if we can also vote, we should actually do this because I haven't done this for a few weeks. So what you can do is go Tesla, and everyone should do this. Go to tesla.com, and I'll do this live just to prove that it's really easy to do. So, okay, so you got tesla.com. You go to, oh, sorry, I just got to move this little thing across, and I got to just cut that off. You go to charging, and whoops, charging, and go across charging. You always suggest Australia. Go to charging, supercharger voting. Now, one thing you can do is vote. So that's for the current round of votes where hopefully as many people as possible will vote. You get 5 votes, but you can only use 1 vote per location. You can't do multiple votes at the same location. So you go into here and you've got to log in to actually vote. And at the moment, please do vote for Belladonna and Ceduna, because like I said, either location, we win. But what you can do is go suggest new location. And I hope as many people do this as possible. Obviously, fill in your first, last name and email. And then for the suggested location address, you basically go EYRE HI, right, you can see Air Highway Ceduna. You can just go down and click on that, backspace, EUCLA, EUC, and it auto completes Air Highway EUCLA. And then what you do is you select benefit of location and you select need to get to my travel destination. Obviously, like I said before, put in your name and email and hit submit. Now, in doing so, if we can get a critical mass of people to vote for the same location, EUCLA is basically pretty much equidistant between Perth and Adelaide. So if we get EUCLA as a Q3 supercharger location voting candidate, then we can just smash that voting and get EUCLA up. And that basically guarantees Tesla will complete the Nullarbor, which is one of the great routes to do between Perth and everywhere else, basically. And after that, we can always talk about, hey, let's attack the Stuart Highway, which is between Darwin and Port Augusta. And then we can start attacking other things in subsequent quarters. But if we can get Tesla to commit, and we know they've got the technology, they've got Megapacks, they've got the solar, they've got the superchargers, they now have the Megapod, which is their AI self-contained, containerized data center, portable data center. So that means that any solar or any energy that's absorbed by the solar panels can either go into cars, and if it doesn't go into the cars, it can make money producing tokens. So Tesla is always cash flow positive for every single photon that hits the solar panels on those remote sites. And we know if you look up Lost Hills in California, they basically had, I think it was 11 megawatts of solar, 10 megapacks, and 168 stalls of supercharging at Lost Hills in California. And that was fed almost exclusively on solar. And I think they had a tiny 1.5 megawatt connection to the grid as like a very weak backup. So Tesla has the technology to do this, and they can cover the Nullarbor. And that will stop people like James a few days ago and me a couple of weeks ago and dozens of others every week who cross the Nullarbor from suffering the indignity of turning up to a location for which millions of dollars of taxpayers' money have been spent on various projects. It'll stop those of us that dare do this And the silly thing is, we're still doing it as if it was an adventure. In fact, it shouldn't be an adventure. It should just be just a normal commute. But sadly, it still is an adventure because when you turn up to a place, you just don't know what you're going to get. And that's pretty depressing. And it's just not appropriate in 2026. So really, Tesla is probably going to be our only savior. And we're so close to getting that done. So once again, please, if you've got a Tesla account, do vote strategically, vote for Baladonia and Ceduna. And if you like any other places in any other regions, do vote for them too. So if you've got friends overseas or whatever, vote for the outliers that achieve the most as far as stretching the network. Then also, please suggest UCLA as the next quarter's voting location candidate, because like I said, we only have to get that in one voting session and we'll make sure it wins. And we can all get together and make that happen.
Harold, is there any thought of Tesla changing the configuration of the chargers? Because over the last few months, I've been down to Margaret River, Busselton, and there's been VWs, Chinese vehicles charging up, and they use the wrong. Well, they're not using. They use the right cable, but unfortunately, it deprives the Tesla users by using the one on the other side.
Yeah, so initially we all thought that Kojonup was almost perfect because it had all the drive-through trailer bays. It's actually not. The perfect location is actually Osborne Park, and I'm going to show you why.
Well, Busselton's not too bad either.
Yeah, Busselton's not too bad, but this is actually this new setup, Martin, is the best.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, saw that yesterday.
Yeah, so the reason is that it doesn't matter which side it doesn't matter which side a non-Tesla uses. A Tesla can always either back in if they wanted to use this stall or this stall, and they could then go front in. No, sorry, they could still back in. Let me get this right. It's on the driver's side. So it's on this side. So you can still connect there, and you can go front in and connect. Sorry, it's on that side. You can. I'm getting it mixed up. On a Tesla, you would drive forwards. For a Tesla, you drive forwards to hook up on your left side of the car there, and you would reverse to hook up there. But if a non-Tesla had used the incorrect stall, they're so close together in the center line that you can use either nozzle and still make it work. So this cannot be blocked.
You can actually drive in and charge your car.
Yes.
The chargers,
Yep. So this is actually literally the absolute best, because it doesn't actually matter which stall the neighbor has used. You in a Tesla can always either reverse or forward park to get it to work. Any other situation, which is really akin to petrol stations, where you have the island where all the Bowsers are on a curb, and cars can go either side, and in either side they can go in either direction. So that's the ideal location, Martin.
I thought it'd be best to put them in the middle of the car bay, right at the back, so cars can charge either from the left side or the right side.
Well, yes, in fact, there are some locations where Tesla actually have 4 bays, so they actually have the superchargers sort of right here, and you can actually get to them from this side, that side, that side, or that side.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes they have like a whole row of superchargers along the back, and again, you have bays front and back, so that you can sort of basically get it from any direction. One big issue that's coming about is the uptake of EVs is exploding, unsurprisingly. I mean, some people may be surprised, but it's a classic exponential curve which does nothing until it explodes. and you can never tell exactly when that is. I think we're pretty much in this explosion phase. Last month we're at 23%. In January we were at 8%. Now some of that is timing and the lumpiness of monthly shipments and all that sort of stuff. This is not just Teslas, this is all EVs in Australia.
Yep.
And you're right, there are a lot of non-Tesla EVs using supercharging, which is a double-edged sword for us Tesla owners. In one sense, we could say, well, it'd be nice if we had a walled garden, because it's not like Zeekr or BYD or Jaguar or BMW or Mercedes or any of the other legacy car makers have invested a tiniest fraction in fast DC charging infrastructure compared to Tesla, not even a rounding error. It is good for us Tesla owners too, because the more supercharger sites get utilized, the more Tesla will install them, because they can produce superchargers or DC chargers vastly cheaper than everyone else. For example, a 4-stall supercharger setup, version 3 supercharger setup, the equipment installed costs $250,000 for 4 stalls.
Wow.
The only thing that costs more than that is the grid transformer, which can cost up to $500,000. But the equipment is astoundingly cheap for what you get. So it is good for all of us. The more cars use the superchargers, albeit during peak times, it might be a little bit frustrating. But Tesla is hell-bent on rolling out more and more and more superchargers. And around Perth and major areas, Tesla acknowledged locally that some of the availability of superchargers over the Easter holidays was not good enough and needs to be improved. And they're onto it.
Well, they're profit centers, not loss centers.
Yes. Yes, they are. And the more they're utilized, the better, because it just makes them more so. So I think we're going to have that classic thing of initially we're going to have this teething issue. I mean, previously we were just impressed that there was a supercharger at all. Now we're rightly concerned that it's going to be over occupied, but that'll be a teething issue. Tesla will just keep installing more and more on those busy sites. But we also want them to do the remote sites where you've got to build it before people can come. Because
Goulburn's a good example of that.
Yes,
where
yes,
you've got
exactly.
Eight superchargers in the middle of town and another sort of 12 out near the highway.
Yep. Use both of them. And the new one is just being hammered by non-Tesla EVs, which is great. Getting a lot of use. James, you got your hand up patiently, I hope.
Yeah. Thanks, Harold.
Sorry about the delay.
Just going back to the chat around the Nullarbor, we're hoping to do another EV trip across the country around Christmas time, having survived our Great Northern Highway adventure.
Oh, yes. And the disappointment of seeing all those closed sea containers with the aluminas jammed inside.
Yeah, we toured all of the Illumina chargers, took photos of all of them, none of them working or turned on. But that was it's part of the adventure. They'll get there eventually. It just takes a long time in that part of the world to get Sparkies and stuff to do the things they need to do. But anyway, so it's a bit frontier there at the moment still. But so just going to the Nullarbor, has anyone got any suggestions for good places to stay along that Nullarbor bit where they might be open to charging overnight? Like, any of the caravan parks particularly friendly or a good spot, or any other kind of accommodation?
They're all friendly except for, well, it's interesting because Stan, I was just going to say, James, but strangely enough, Stan actually said he overnighted at Eucla, which I thought was, or was that someone else?
I've overnighted at Eucla as well, Harold, but there is definitely a sign on the desk that says don't.
Yes. So avoid
I
Euclid.
just pretended I didn't see it.
So avoid Euclid, James. But actually, the NRMA so you're saying, did you say Christmas?
Yeah, peak hour.
Is it? Sorry, you're just doing Nullarbor. You're not doing a lap around Australia.
No, I'm just going to go to Sydney and back.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. Okay, no worries. Sorry, because I thought you'd be almost as stupid as me to do a lap in monsoon season because you just get bitten by floods. But no, in the Euclid, in the Nullarbor, you'll be fine. So the good news is, by the time Christmas comes around, the NRMA solar powered charger at Border Village will have been replaced by then. So in fact, it's a moot point. So you could just
You forgive my cynicism. After my Great Northern Highway experience, I don't trust anything being installed until I see it on ChargeFox.
True, but what happened was a truck had hit the solar panels, and I wouldn't want to accuse the NRMA of milking an insurance case, but hey, they're a company and they can't sue me for libel. It was hit by a truck. The driver did not stop or do anything to acknowledge the damage until he returned to the depot in Perth. I was talking to a customs lady at the border, WA border, who said she was there when it actually happened. And according to her, I find it, take it with a pinch of salt, she said she was told it was $1 million insurance claim. Now, what is ridiculous is the NRMA, well, the evidence is they chose to remove the charger, take it away, and then I don't know whether they're going to refurbish it or replace it by a new one or whatever, and then bring another one and put it there. Whereas they could have, and mind you, you need a large crane because of the ridiculous way they've over-engineered this ridiculous thing. They need a 150-ton crane and a low loader truck to load or unload it. So rather than trucking a new one to the site with the crane, because the crane has to travel thousands of kilometers, move the old one to the side, put the new one down, get the old one, put it on the truck, and then go back and do it in one hit is beyond me, unless you are wanting to basically milk the insurance claim and if you did not care about the EV public who relies on that charger. So look, James, it will be there and it will probably work. And I say that advisedly because unfortunately with any NRMA charger locations that are these solar powered ones, they may not work when you get there. But there is always 15 amps, which I'm sure you're more than familiar with. The best plan with Nullarbor is not to plan anything and just play it by ear if you can. You'll be in the quiet season, so you don't have to worry about necessarily booking accommodation. So you could just play it by ear and see how the trip goes. In fact, James, you've just done it just now. You can maybe speak to the flexibility that you sort of get, and tell us what your sort of strategy was.
Yeah, every place is good to stay. We never got told we couldn't charge anywhere, but we didn't stop at Eucla because Eucla has the no charging policy written down. But every single place had some sort of charger. So even when we turned up to Baladonia and there was no EV charging network, we paid the $3 a kilowatt and charged off their charger, and that was no problem. I mean, you'd be angry if you had to do it every single day, but it was a once off. So for that once off, it was a cost of business. We only camp at night, and I'm not saying we're trying to be dodgy. We'd rather see things during the day, so we tell them to arrive places at nightfall. So I don't think many people notice we're charging. We make no secret of it, and we tell them when we're booking. We've never had any problems with anyone saying anything. We've had a few problems from, twice in 7 trips across, have members of the public told us that we shouldn't be charging at the thing. And so say, that's your opinion, you're plugged in. If you've got a problem with it, go and speak to the management because we already have. But everyone's really wonderful. I don't want to sound negative, but none of the places in the Nullarbor are nice to stay at. They're survivable.
Easy. Penong.
No, sorry. Penong is beautiful. Penong, sorry. I'm thinking about Nullarbor, between Nullarbor Roadhouse and Baladonia. They are expensive. They are run down. They get abused by the traffic, look, they must be terrible businesses to try and run because you've got itinerant staff. You've got all sorts of travellers that do all sorts of terrible things. You've got caravanners that come in the middle of the night and steal their power and their water. You've got people that mess their toilets up, and take it for what it is. They're not pretty. They're rugged, and people with caravans get away with it. We stayed in a couple of the on our first couple of trips. We stayed in a couple of the motel rooms, and they were really expensive for what they were. But you can get across the Nullarbor, only having to stop at one place. And like Shane's Park said, we stop at Southern Cross and try to aim for somewhere in the middle of the Nullarbor crossing, and then we aim for the Penong on the way out because it's a really nice place.
Cool.
So,
okay, thanks for the tip.
Yeah, and you just keep driving.
I'd personally aim for an overnight at Baladonia, mainly because it's just ridiculous. But are you in a swag or a caravan or a tent or?
We'll take a tent, but we'll have the family. Same what we did up the Great Northern. So it'll be 2 kids, 2 adults, a tent. So we can camp wherever. But on this trip, I think for the next trip, we'll probably aim to only do a little bit of camping rather than this trip we've just done, which was quite a lot of camping.
All right, well, I'll give you the tip. If you pull up at Baladonia, find yourself as far east and north of the roadhouse as you can. So nowhere near where the toilets are, and nowhere near the road, because the road is ridiculously loud, and over where the toilets are, there's that's where their generator house is, and that runs all night. It's quite loud, and the fragrances that come out of that septic tank are not pleasant.
Oh, come on, Steve. I'm sure lots of blowflies would just absolutely love that.
Put it this way, when we were camped at Baladonia on the way back, I thought I had accidentally busted one of the batteries in the floor of my caravan, and I was concerned that I was giving us lithium poisoning of some sort. It turned out it had absolutely nothing to do with the batteries. It was just the toilet.
Look, I'd say
good.
from being an almost grey nomad and doing lots of forward driving, there's a reason that people have caravans and long range tanks, and they stay at free camps.
Yeah.
But it's part of the adventure. I would say the ideal crossing would be to stay at Norseman overnight and leave as early as you can on the morning, as comfortable as you can, driving into the sun. Let the sun come up and get as far. And Majura is quite nice to stop at if you can make it that far.
Yep.
Kaiguna's nice to stop at. Cockabiddy's nice to stop at. But you may want kids don't maybe shower that night. There's no need to. They're rugged, but it's good. I would say that
Cockabiddy do a really good sandwich for breakfast,
Yeah.
bacon and egg sandwich. They do a really good bacon and egg sanger.
Majura do a nice bangers and mash. They've got some toilets that aren't and showers that we've used and aren't too bad. But yeah, I start at Norseman, go as far as you're comfortable, leave as early as you're comfortable driving, drive as far as you can, and Kaiguna, Cockabiddy, or Majura Pass are all I'd say the cleanest, nicest, better ones to spend the night at. But maybe your kids don't have to shower that night.
Have you got the Tiddlywinks with you out the back of Cocklebiddy? Some beautiful big eagles, wedge-tailed eagles. And the other one that the kids will love is take the detour down, if you're not in a hurry, take the detour down to the old telegraph station at Eucla and throw them in the ocean for half an hour. And you go for a walk through the old settlement that's now under the sand dunes and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Awesome, looking forward to it. And when everyone's visiting the Paynes Find DC charger, when it soon hopefully will be open, there's an excellent wildlife sanctuary just around the corner from that, which is one of two buildings in Paynes Find, pretty much. So you can either go for a wander or drive around the corner and visit them to look it up.
Yeah, very good. Well, actually, tell us, James, about your loop. So obviously, it would have been ideal if the Illumina Great Northern Highway setup was done, but it sadly wasn't. But how did you find the trip in spite of that?
It was a great adventure. The bit to Karijini was easy. We went up the coast. And the WA EV network was behaving itself, and Billabong Roadhouse was even working. Manilia was disappointing, but I guess we expected that. And that was a good example of making sure you take an AC cable because we got faster off the AC than we got off the DC.
Yep.
And then we stayed at Nanyatara. It was quite nice to stay the night there. And then Sheila Plains Station was the next spot we stopped before Paraburdoo, like going inland. And they were very nice. They charged us $50 to charge the car overnight. It's a bit of a premium, but it is what it is. They've got a nice big solar system and battery there to run the whole show. And then Paraburdoo, Tom Price have both got DC fast chargers that are pretty they're free, and they do a decent job. We went into Karijini from Tom Price, and our plan was to keep enough charge in the car so that we could get back from Karijini to the Tom Price charger. We managed to procure some electricity at Karijini, talking to somebody who worked at the place. I'm not sure if that's something you could rely on. But that gave us enough charge then to Silver Gorges, which are all two-wheel drive kind of tracks, and then get across to Newman, where we stayed the night in Newman at a caravan park, and then visited the Newman Capricorn Illumina charger. And then from there to Karalundi was a stretch that was like 370 kilometres or thereabouts, and we're in a Model Y standard range. So yeah, that's the Capricorn Illumina charger. From there, we went down to Karalundi, and that's pretty much at the limit of what the Tesla Model Y standard range 2022 can do. And so we just found when we didn't have a truck up our bum, we slowed down to kind of 90 k's an hour, kept an eye on the energy, and we got there. We did stop in at Coomerina Roadhouse and managed to get a smidge of electricity out of them from their 15-amp power point. They weren't too excited about that. Q, same thing. This one's going to run on the Q1. So that photo I took is you can see the white box there to the left of the petrol station. That one's going to run off a chip oil generator, apparently, the Illumina people tell me. So it'd be good because the Ampol is out of power. They put a new Bay Marie in, and that's used up all of their available electricity, apparently. So that'll be good once that one is sorted. And then when we went down south, we stayed in Meekatharra for work for a couple of days, so I charged at local accommodation there. And then Paynes Find, this one's a bit annoying because they used to have a 32 amp 5-pin plug But in the course of installing this unit, they've disabled that plug. So now the only option until that actually works is a 15 amp plug. And that one's actually energized. It's the only one on the whole trip that was energized.
Oh, yes, you can see the green. Yep.
Yeah. I had a look I actually called Illumina and had a chat to one of the guys to see if they might be able to tell me how to get it to free vend or see if I could pay them somehow other way. But they said it's not. I did raise an issue. We had the Telstra outage while we were on this trip, which wasn't a massive drama for us, but made me think about if these all require an internet connection to vend, whether there should be some kind of agreed standard where if communication is lost that they default to free vend or something else, because the cost of a few hours of free vending is pretty marginal for an organisation.
I fear that to get them to free vend would need a little bit of extra hardware, unfortunately. I happen to own an Illumina and there's no free vend function in its configuration menu. The only way you can basically do it is you effectively get like a little Raspberry Pi and chuck it in there as like a proxy server and do it that way to free vend, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think they are going to use Starlink. In fact, I'm
they're
all
going to
but
put a Starlink.
certainly going to use
putting a
Starlink.
Starlink in. But that seems crazy because I was standing next to the charger and I had full bars of 4G Telstra.
Yeah, but the techs when they went to commission, because they were going to commission a few weeks ago, they were going to commission Payne's Find at the bottom of the highway.
And Capricorn.
And Capricorn at the top, which they call Newman, although it's Capricorn Roadhouse. So these bloody Bugshare, stop it. So let's call it Capricorn and Payne's Find. They were out there. They'd driven up all the way up to Capricorn to commission it, and then they found at basically the last moment that 4G Telstra cards just weren't cutting the mustard. So they admitted defeat and they've retreated back to Queensland, and they're going to come back, I think, to commission all 4 sites. Oscar, even though it's shown as a coming soon, is not yet coming soon, but I think they're intent on putting up just Starlink terminals. Bearing in mind, you can actually get the cheapest connection is $15 a month, which is a bargain, and you get 0.5 megabit per second, and that's vastly more than you need.
I mean, just in these remote areas, though, who knows when if Starlink. I mean, Starlink's pretty reliable, but if there's some kind of problem with the comms, I feel like it's probably worth having we need to start pushing for some kind of safe backstop for when these kind of systems fail.
Yeah, look, and I'm fortunate to have a little bit of a relationship with Illumina. The club it was actually Tokwa that proposed Illumina put these charges along the Great Northern Highway. So as a club, we can suggest to them that they, like I said, they do install a little bit of extra hardware and propose to them, if at all possible, to have a free vend option in case of a loss of communication. Because the thing is, it's not about
to me that it was possible, but but the only way to turn it on was to be connected to the device. So yeah, maybe there's some other way of doing it.
No. Through knowing a little bit of programming, it's easy to do. You basically use a proxy server, and to avoid any communication issues, you house it at the Illumina, and you can do it on something like a Raspberry Pi or similar that's been hardened, so it's more reliable. And the great thing is, as soon as you take the nozzle and plug it into a car, through OCPP, which is the Open Charge Point Protocol, you immediately get a notification, or the system gets a notification that a car has been plugged in. Just the same way as if you're using, say, for example, ChargeFox, when you plug a charger into when you plug the plug into your car, the ChargeFox app changes from being available. The button changes from saying available to start, and then you can press on the app and start the charge session. So because you get that signal straight away, a local proxy server can then instantly just go start charging if there's no comms. If there was comms, of course, it just passes it up the line and passes it up to ChargeFox or whoever, whichever app. And then the normal transactions go through. If there's no communications or it times out, the proxy server acts as if it was the controller and just tells the charger start charging. So no, it can absolutely be done, James. It just needs a little bit of effort, and probably more importantly, it needs for people like Illumina to understand that it's not. Look, the problem with humans is, okay, if some human finds out, oh, well, all they're going to do is block the communications to get a free charge, what are they going to do? Get a roll of aluminium foil and get a little step ladder and chuck a bit of aluminium foil over the Starlink terminal and get $30 worth of free charging. Well, this equipment costs $250,000 plus. It's never going to be cash flow positive, ever. So it's not about earning the $20 or $30 off a charging session. So yeah, look, hopefully we'll make representations as a club, and we'll see what happens.
Cool, thanks.
On that subject of slightly tangent, but on that subject of not being able to charge because you can't pay for it, we had problems with that in Canada because the equivalent of ChargeFox, their equivalent of ChargeFox, to set, you log in, you download the app, you set up your account, you go to plug your credit card in. They wanted a Canadian or a North American address. So okay, no worries. So we stuck in the address for the people that we were visiting, and then went to plug in our Australian credit card. And then, of course, the Australian credit card doesn't have a Canadian address, and you can't charge. So the entire way across Canada, we had to charge on superchargers only.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and we even found one that was broken. We found it was I think it was one of the smaller ones. I think it had like 8 stalls, and it wasn't functioning. But
that'll be the 0.001% not working.
Yeah, pretty much
in the world.
But that was okay because there was another 150 k's up the road.
That's what I love. The North Americans, they go, hot damn! I drove all the way from New York to LA, and it's like, yeah, there's probably 200 maybe not 200, but 100 superchargers on that route. So it's not an adventure.
We did manage to find a road where we did have to watch our consumption. We did our glide slope into town, and I think we arrived on like 10 or 12% or something. So we weren't really trying very hard, but we did have a diversion where we were like, "Ooh, what are we going to do here?"
Yes. I had the same issue in New Zealand, Shane. So one of the providers, they demanded a New Zealand phone number, and my wife had got a New Zealand eSIM, so that was good.
Yeah, we had that too. We had a Canadian SIM. Yep.
But when we plugged in my credit card, it just went, nah, it wouldn't accept it. So then I reluctantly plugged in my works credit card, which is a debit card, which is a bit scarier, because now I'm playing with my own money, or as in, it's not on credit, it's already there. And then the app says, "Oh, we've detected a suspicious activity," and suspended the account. And then we finally,
really?
Yeah, suspended the account, as in not the credit card account, the charging app account. In fact, it was my wife that did it on her phone because she had the New Zealand eSIM, and she sent an email. I'd ventilated this last year on Ask Us Anything. She put in a email request to say what's going on, and they then admitted that as a matter of policy or the way they do their billing, or whichever billing provider they use to actually do the credit card billing, they only deal with New Zealand credit cards.
Yeah.
So even if it's an ANZ credit card, it had to be a New Zealand ANZ credit card, not an Australian one. But that's not as useless as BP, because the BP Go app there's one app that's worldwide, but geo-fenced to your home country. So if you dare use the BP app, which I tried in New Zealand or in the UK, all it would show was Australian locations. And even though there's a QR code on each outlet for the app to read, when you read BP's QR code with the BP app, because it's domiciled in Australia, it goes, this is not a valid charging station. And there is no alternative. You can't get a BP UK, BP New Zealand, BP Canada, BP whatever. It's the most useless legacy.
I guess that's because EV drivers don't travel internationally.
Yeah, because they're supposed to live in caves and anyway.
Yeah.
Because there are underwater superchargers to cross the oceans, you see.
Right.
That's right. There's no contiguous path.
That's it.
Now
on the upside, I can say that in Australia we've got something right. All the charger outlets, with the exception of Chatamo, which is now pretty much obsolete, everything is CCS2. So you pull up to a charger and you can plug your car in. In North America, there were lots of places where we could potentially have charged, and a couple of them where we really would have liked to have charged, but you can't because they've got 2 or 3 different charge outlets, and you can't plug in. So you're sitting there looking at a lovely charger that's going to pump out 200 kilowatts, and you can't do anything with it.
Yep. Thankfully, I guess you could say NACS, the NACS, which is Tesla's North American standard, single phase based, AC/DC combined. Yeah, that's appropriate for that jurisdiction. And it's a little bit like, we have got Chatamo. Thankfully, the NRMA actually, in their newer sites, which are federal government co-funded, on some sites, they had 2 180 kilowatt ABB chargers with 2 nozzles each, one of which they wasted on Chatamo. Now what they seem to be doing in many more remote towns that have grid is they have 1 ABB charger with 2 CCS connectors, CCS2 connectors, and then an ABB 25 kilowatt charger with a single CCS and a useless Chatamo. And that's great because a Nissan Leaf, the classic Leaf, cannot charge faster than 25 kilowatts in most cases. So that's appropriate that you're not wasting a whole big nozzle on that legacy. In Australia, it's a legacy standard. In Japan, it is the standard, but not here.
Yeah, but here now I'm fairly certain the rule is if you're selling an EV in Australia, it's CCS2, right?
Nope.
No,
I think it was. Look, it might have changed the last 12 months, but the Lexus UX 300, I think had Chatamo. As ridiculous as that sounds, as extraordinarily ridiculous as that sounds. But that's go on. Oh, what a feeling, Toyota, to be given such a useless legacy. You might as well be selling, the year
Beta.
2000 plasma HD plasma screen with MPEG 2 or whatever it is for HD TV. Anywho, Mike, in spite of your, well, you could still be right because no one knows, but I do remember your confidence that SpaceX's confidence in having a launch this week might be overconfident. It looks like they're still pressing for a Friday morning launch our time, which is Starship 13.
Oh no, yes. So it's at this point, it's the usual suspects which could delay the flight. So weather and or any last minute mechanical system issues. So I don't know how many rocket fans are here, but if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend the second in a series of, should we call them videos by SpaceX, was put out this week.
They're really documentaries, Mike. They're
They're
world-class
half
documentaries. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're half hour. They're pretty good. And there's stuff in there that we all hadn't seen before for those of us who are rocket fans. So I'd highly recommend it. So it is available on all platforms. So SpaceX essentially stopped posting on YouTube some time ago. One of the reasons I have an X account is essentially to follow. I like my rocket launches, but they've actually posted this also on YouTube. So go to SpaceX.com as well as SpaceX on YouTube, and it's called Critical Path is the title of the last one. And if you haven't seen the one before that, I'd also recommend that. But this one is really interesting about what they've done. And if you're an engineer, and especially like, say, myself and Harold have been around for a while, we know. Oh, you're showing a bit, are you?
No, I'm just spoiling up an interesting bit just before one guy correctly says Exmouth, which was gratifying.
Yes,
but yeah,
so
go
that's
on.
right. WA got a mention. So Friday morning, our time, window opens 6 a.m. Launch is typically 7 if all goes well. But again, weather has actually been, mostly weather's been the hold up in the past, but there has been, because now we're in a new regime of hardware, so block 3, whatever you want to call it, there can be some hiccups. But they've done their investigations and made some changes, and we're all crossing fingers. So real Starlink version 3s are going into
20 of them. They're going to waste. Well, they're going to consume on a suborbital flight.
Yes, they will be suborbital, so they'll burn up after a potential trial connection across Africa. And more cameras on the Starlinks to have a look at the shielding after takeoff. So I won't go into too much details. We are a Tesla show after all, but still, it's all very interesting.
It is funny because eventually we could be known as the SpaceX Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia, if and when SpaceX and Tesla merge.
Yeah, I'll be happy to own a rocket, stick it up in the backyard.
On the video, one of the classic things I thought was the interesting name of the ship that they use to put the what they call buoys is a very plainly named offshore supplier. Yes. I thought that's one of the most perfunctory names I've ever seen.
It is on the way out there. For those of us who know anything about ships, they all have tracking devices, and so it's on its way out there as we speak. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a rocket fan or an engineer, it's quite interesting, and it's just the real people, not Elon, talking. You know, the real people actually do stuff for a living. Not that Elon doesn't, but you know what I mean. Physically gets in there and fixes stuff. And the bit of the tower broke, so they had to fix that and ship things in from the Cape, all sorts of stuff. So
a few swear words in there too this time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're normal people. and a lot of them are younger, and they are at the bleeding edge of technology. And one thing to realize is SpaceX currently launches 85% of the mass to orbit for the entire Earth. One now public company launches more than everyone else, many times more than the entire rest of the world combined, single-handedly. You know, and the only reason why rocket companies like Arianespace exist is because of the multi-governmental funding. I don't know, just to keep them alive, because it's a quaint thing to do.
Yes.
Because it's certainly not for any practical reason that is logical or economic reason. SpaceX has it in spades.
It'll be interesting. I hope it goes well for them. I'm still like, when you look at Raptor 3, the engines, for those who are not familiar, the engines, and you look at them compared with the version 1, you just think, how does this thing even work? Right? And, they had some leaks and things. Again, for those who don't know, there's a McGregor test site where all the engines are manufactured and tested. And yet we still had failures, but apparently it's to do with startup and not the engine itself. Although, again, it's all a bit, the FAA was happy with the report, so you don't really know what's going on. So, for me, as an engineer, it's basically the heat shield and the reliability of the engines. Because the guys are saying, I don't know how they're going to do this in the Cape, for example, or even where they are, because the noise and the vibration is unbelievably enormous. People have no idea what's coming. If they're launching every hour, which they, that's not going to happen this year or even next year. But even if they're launching once a day, it'd be like a truck driving through your front room. Now, at the Cape, there's people a lot closer, and they're going to be breaking windows when Starship takes off at the Cape. That's going to create a whole flurry of comment.
Well, speaking of breaking windows, I liked, which was great in this episode or this documentary, when Starship lands. And blows up. Watch what comes next.
Yes, in a minute.
Oh no, it was after this one. Sorry, it's coming up. It's coming up. There we go. Yeah. Torpedo, a COPV, a composite overwrapped pressure vessel torpedo, basically almost skewering one of the.
I was wondering what that was. I rewound it so many times, and I'm like, is that a torpedo?
It might as well be.
So up the side of the ship, you will notice those things called chines, or the triangular bits. They're actually aerodynamic bits as well. And all up in there are these several, is there 10 up each side? No, it's not as many as 10. It might be. Anyway, there's a lot up each side.
And in the cone, Mike, actually in the cone,
yes,
there's a
booster
whole
has them
lot.
up the side. Yep. The ship has them in the head, in the cargo area. And they're high pressure vessels, and seem to be on fire though. That's what I didn't get, because I thought they only contained CO2, helium, or nitrogen.
No, I think there's fire all around. So, you're right too. Yes,
it's a bit weird.
Strange.
Unless it seems to be jet propelled. So I don't know what the hell's in there.
Yeah.
It's
just awesome seeing all these engineers just losing themselves, because it was so awesome to see it blow up, because that's exactly what it was going to do.
Yeah. See, what gets me, you're speaking of young people, and here's me sounding like an old fart, but that young lady who was just in the last scene there, she's director. Now, she's either looking really young for her age, or she's really good, because you don't get to be director in a company like that without being good. It's not because you're a woman or because of your looks. It's because you're good.
Exactly. But I mean, the Apollo program was full of young engineers and people in their 30s, It was full of them.
No, it's good. And interesting enough, when they were doing the bid on the Starlink, you probably know this, but there's for those who don't watch the rockets, one of the other sites to monitor, because they do long coverage, is a group called NASA Spaceflight, or NSF, who are on YouTube and X. And they've had some of their people go and be employed by SpaceX. So that chap who was talking about loading and measuring of the Starlinks, he's from NSF back when I started watching them back when it was Hopper time.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
anyways, don't get me started, you know me.
Friday morning at gentlemen's hours
Yes.
and ladies' hours, actually, at 7:30. There's a bit of dissonance. So Everyday Astronaut says 6:30. SpaceX, up until last night, was saying 7:45, sorry, launch Perth time. I don't know if that's been updated.
Yeah, that could be launched, but the window opens. So again, if you want to watch, the launch window opens at 6 a.m. our time, and the launch window.
Oh.
So, but they don't launch at the start usually.
Yep.
Right. And again, it can change, and it may well be that they've seen the weather update and already moved it in a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I did check. I haven't watched my NSF countdown to launch episode from as we speak, probably.
No. Very good. All right, but that's
I find that stuff absolutely mind blowing. I absolutely love it. I think it's incredible when you see the size of the organization, just the size of the entire operation, moving that spaceship on that trailer thing. It's mind-boggling.
In that documentary, they actually say one of the skills they have developed quite well is moving very big objects. And I mean, these are skyscrapers, mobile skyscrapers that they're moving around.
It's amazing, and you can see where all the what do they call them? Those cyber trucks.
Yep.
You can see where they've all gone. They're on the.
Yeah, there is a lot there actually. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's amazing. It's mind-blowing stuff, and I think all the detractors really haven't got a clue what they're saying.
Oh yeah, talking general population, you know, half of them are average or whatever the word is. So, yeah. But the reality is, as I say, there are two significant challenges. The heat shield is Musk's main concern. He is more confident in the Raptors. I'm a bit less confident because I'm a bit more of a conservative engineer. But I think they'll iron that out. But again, I look into the forward future, and there is a calculation which shows they could actually do it, still end up with net cargo, but not require a heat shield coming back, because they slow down in the upper atmosphere using fuel, of course, before it heats up. Now, it's a lot less efficient, but down the track, when they've got, you know, version 4 of Starship up, they've got more powerful engines, a larger lift. They'll have, you know, if you look at where Falcon 9 is now compared with Block 1 of Falcon 9, it's a huge difference. So all that's to come over the next 3 or 4 years while they, what do we call it? Problem solve all the efficiency improve.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't the in-flight or the refueling they're talking about doing up there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
if they can refuel the thing so that it can use some of its power to slow itself down, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So it doesn't need the shield.
Yes. So they need a net positive fuel up, and at the moment, all of that available is going to refueling or the fuel depot with the heat shield in place. but you can still have a net positive, providing Grok and my calculations are reasonable. It's probably half as much if you slow down below certain critical speeds in the upper atmosphere so that you don't heat up the stainless skin so that it melts.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is,
interesting.
Mike, you could even think of, if you want to really be creative, at the moment you belly flop on the belly. Well, you could just rotisserie the thing, is another possibility, that if you could just keep it rotating, you're in effect spreading the heat. And also
tricky.
using...
Flight control will be tricky.
Absolutely, but I mean,
Maybe.
everything's tricky. It's literally rocket science. So there's lots of ways of skinning cats, and like you say, they could just spend a bit more fuel, and they can get quite creative if the non-ablative heat shield is just too fragile.
Yeah.
But, or maybe they'll do 50-50. They'll just say, we'll put a pristine heat shield on, and it will just get scratchy and crappy and spoil off and do whatever it does. And maybe every 10th flight will replace it or something like that. And everything's a compromise.
If it lasts 10 flights, that'd be a good outcome.
They'll make so much money, it's just not funny.
In fact, I saw an article this week saying that there are people who want to put satellites up that are now concerned because transporter rides on Falcon 9 are no more from 2028, is it? Whenever. So they're all booked out up until 2028 and there's no more after that. So SpaceX are thinking that they'll have Starship up by then.
Yep. Well, they will.
2 years away, 2.5 years away. It's possible unless they have some major deals. And again, you can still do all this without having to reuse the ships. It just costs more.
Exactly.
Because even a Starship on its own and a booster on its own. I mean, the boosters, I think, can be reused, no problem, right? But it's the ship. So even if you expended every ship, it's still the same as Falcon 9. You're expending the second stage, basically.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not as efficient by a long chalk, but it's not a disaster.
Nope. All right. We are
shareholders.
definitely past our bedtime.
Oh, yeah, it is too.
Any last minute questions or comments before we see the show out?
If I may, Harold.
Yes.
I just a few weeks ago, I invited a mate to come on who's really looking at getting an electric car, and he's debating about a few things. And I told him Tesla's the way to go. Come on here and have a chat.
Yep.
And he came on, and for about an hour or half an hour, it was all SpaceX and everything else. And so he didn't feel comfortable putting his oar in. I told him to come back again tonight at 7:30 because that's when the newbies get their chance.
Yep.
And after about 3, I think we went everywhere else but on newbies. And so he left after about 45 minutes. And then Mike Shields, I saw, had his hand up for half an hour or so while we kept on talking about SpaceX. Anyway, all of that to say, it's great to talk about all sorts of fun things, but if I invite someone on to talk about Tesla and then there's no chance to say anything, then it does make it hard to invite people to come on here. Anyway, a thought to think about.
Please,
it's not a criticism or anything.
No. So please ask anyone to either put their hand up or just speak up. So you can tell how casual we are in this setting. This is not a TV broadcast or anything like that. So please, and this is for anyone, just either if you want to be a bit more polite, or you don't have to be polite. You just speak up, interrupt, or just say, "Hey, I've got a question," or put your hand up.
Yeah, I saw Pete Shield has
I can't show
his
you.
hand up for about half an hour before, and he didn't get talked to.
Yes,
and then he left.
Yeah, and I apologise if he watches this on YouTube or whatever, on X. I apologise in advance or in retrospect. Better still, if he wants to ask anything about Tesla, ring Tokwa's support line, which is 6262 3131. and then he can have a one-on-one discussion, with myself, and I'll go in detail with, and us Tesla owners, even though we may appear fanboyish or fangirlish, the vast majority of us we critically appraise the cars. They're not perfect. There are some things that Tesla does that's imperfect. There are some things that the cars do that are imperfect. But it is indisputable that if you compare the cars as a matter of value for money, Tesla is the best value for money EV you can buy. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the car you can afford to buy, because they aren't cheap, but they are vastly the best value for money. So more than happy for anyone to ring on 62623131. That's Tokwa's support line. And happy to discuss it. Sincere apologies. Sometimes I did notice a gentleman had his hand up. I don't always see it. I can't actually show you what I see. I actually have two big screens here and a small right here where the camera is. There's one of those half silvered, whatever you call it, teleprompter thingy screen, and it's tiny, and it's really hard to actually see anything on that screen, to be perfectly honest. So apologies for missing that. But please, if anyone who is new that comes on, or you invite anyone, or even if you are on yourself, just say, hey, I've got my friend that wants to ask a question, or something like that.
Sure.
Because we are completely informal. I think everyone's seen that in the 263 episodes that we've had. So sincere apologies for missing that. Really regret that happened. And we'll try and do better. Well, every episode, try and do something better.
And please don't take it as a criticism, Harold. It's more just an observation of.
You know what? The best thing is actually criticism, because it's pointless saying, "Oh, this show's great. It's all good." Blah blah blah. It's actually more important to go, "Yes, but it'd be better if you could do something, better or whatever." Just a little pushback on the SpaceX thing. I really did just start that at 9:15, which was the last 15 minutes of the show, because I do normally do that towards the end, or try to at least. But look,
I think last time you told me it was 8:30 that he logged on and it went to SpaceX and he couldn't.
I'm happy to be corrected. This is recorded, but anyway, like I said, sincere apologies. Please ask them if they're happy to come back on, or better still, just ring that number, and happy to dispassionately look. I've had approaching 600,000 kilometers of driving in Teslas. I've owned, I can't remember how many now, 6 or so. I can't remember. First one put 220,000 Ks on it. Second one put 30,000. The next one put 194,000 Ks on it. Another one, it all becomes a bit of a blur, but, and been around the country a few times. So happy to talk to anyone about it.
That's very
no worries. All right. We got a hand up. So we got Saxon. There you go. I actually did manage to see a hand up after all.
I thought I'd test it out. I haven't actually been on for ages. Life's just got the better of me. But I was just going to ask a quick one. When I was getting in the car the other day, I just noticed there was a little split in the side of the side wall of the driver's seat, just in the material, just where you sort of sit on it as you're getting in and out of the car. It compresses, and it's just got a little crack in it.
On the right side, so where the controls are, just that. Yep.
And I pinged Tesla, and they have obviously given me a quote like they always do with anything. And the guys called me up, and I said, "Man, is that covered by warranty or not? Because it's kind of unusual that it's happened." And he said, "Yeah, I can't answer that question." And he did say that he was going to put a note in the file to say I wouldn't be charged if I agreed, and without agreeing to be charged. So they're going to go and assess it and work out whether it's under warranty. But from reading, it doesn't appear that sort of stuff is under warranty. It's considered wear and tear potentially.
How old's the car, Saxon?
Coming up on 3 years in September.
How many Ks?
29,000.
That's under warranty.
But is that under
I would
warranty? No,
say,
like the
I would
seat?
If
say,
it's a
be the old
split,
man.
if it's a split,
To
it's
do
under
what?
warranty because a split is not like a crease or a
Or
wear
a
or
tear?
yeah, yeah.
I would highly recommend being the angry old man shaking his fist at the clouds, because I had a win on that at 180,000 Ks and what, 5 years, Harold?
Yes.
4 years, 5 years?
On
And
your
I had a
steering
win on
wheel,
that.
wasn't it, Shane?
Yep. They replaced my
Yeah.
steering wheel for me free of charge.
It does seem a little bit unreasonable for a car to have done less than 30,000 Ks and be less than 3 years old. And you can see as well, it's kind of lifted off it's kind of got like some sort of material mesh underneath the material. And you can see it's actually lifted away from that. So yeah, it just looks like that section is just crappy material. But I was just interested to know what you think. I actually had a problem with my window on the driver's door as well. It just fell in a little bit, the electric window button.
Model Y? Oh, the
Model
button.
Y.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, and I took it in and they charged me like $100-something to fix it. And I went back and I said, guys, this is completely unreasonable. You know, you have to prove that I treated the car unreasonably because it's under warranty and the onus is on you to do that. I think you should make this free of charge. And they came back, and I just want everyone to know this because, you know, as Shane said, you kind of need to push them sometimes. And they've came back and of course, not admitting any guilt or fault on their part of making that judgment. They said as a what do they call it? A goodwill gesture.
Goodwill.
We've agreed to refund this amount of money. But look, my expectation is that it's under warranty. And look, I don't think I pushed the button hard. I'm kind of rough with stuff, but not to the point where I'm like smacking the window button. And I've driven Toyotas all my life, and I still believe they're amazing quality compared to all cars in terms of especially all the fittings and contraptions and buttons. And I have never had a button like that break in a car in my, you know, almost 30 years driving. And so for that to happen so quickly and without me even noticing, I was a bit shocked. But yeah, look, I guess again, just if something's within warranty and you break something or something stops working, sometimes you've got to push a little bit to get the service that you should be getting.
Indeed, and yeah, please, anyway, if you're not at all happy with what's going on, please feel comfortable in escalating it. Because if you don't ask the question, you'll never get a favourable answer. And you won't necessarily always get a favourable answer, but always it's your right to push back. And
don't
don't
forget, what you're
forget,
trying to say is if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's not to say ask silly things like, you know, I don't know, whatever. You know, my partner accidentally put lipstick on the rear view mirror or something, whatever, and it wasn't come out anymore, and can you replace it? I mean, that's, you know, going too far. But under Australian consumer law, the warranty that anyone offers, any supplier offers any consumer, that's the optional warranty. What actually is always the case is a product must always be fit for purpose, and it must last for a period of time that is appropriate to the nature and value of the product. So you can't say, no one can say, oh, we've got a X year warranty, and if it's a day after that warranty ends, something completely dismantles itself, that's appropriate, because it's just not. And under Australian consumer law, it doesn't matter what Tesla says or what Toyota says or what anyone says. It's what a reasonable person would think that a product of that value and kind ought to last for, notwithstanding a little bit of fair wear and tear. And Saxon, I mean, look, one of the classic reasons is they're plastic seats, and they're plastic seats because Tesla was basically made to do so by a very active lobby group that at every annual general meeting berated Tesla for using leather in the interior of the vehicles. And the last bastion of that leather was the steering wheel, which at the last year before Tesla deleted leather in the steering wheel, Elon Musk, in reply to a question, why do you persist in having leather in the steering wheel, says it's really difficult to get something that is as long wearing as leather in that location. But Tesla, here we are, and Tesla now, there is no leather in any of its products. And yeah, I mean, I'm sitting in a seat right now that's not made of leather, and that any office chair that's not made of leather, it's the same thing, Saxon. It fractures the thing, the plastic fractures, and you get down to that mesh,
underlay.
Underlay thing. Yep, exactly what happens.
I've just dumped a picture in so you can kind of see it's just kind of cracked, and it's just on that. It's actually got a second crack underneath. I hadn't even noticed, but yeah. So I'll see how I go. I'm booked in Wednesday morning, so I'll see. I'll let you know how I go.
Yeah, no, please do.
But
I'm just trying to bring it up. I'll just make it bigger. Sorry, I'll just go make this full size and stick it there. And yeah, you can actually see the webbing underneath. Yep. And that's after 30,000 Ks.
Yeah, not even. I think I'm on 29.1 or something.
For what it's worth, Saxon, the argument that Harold just presented with regards to Australian consumer law, that's precisely how I responded when I was told about my steering wheel not being under warranty. And they said, yeah, no, to their credit, they said, yeah, no, you're right. I replaced it and thanked me, basically. Had a lovely chat with the guy. I complained that I didn't have my Cybertruck yet, and away we went.
Yeah. I mean, my expectation is they should repair it. I just wasn't sure if anyone else repair or replace. I mean, I think really, it's under warranty. They should really replace the whole thing, because repairing it's not going to work out favorably, I don't think.
No, at least they need to replace the liner for the bottom of the seat, the base, not the back, obviously, but just the base. Alrighty. I think might as well, just for the sake of completeness, is there anyone else that's got any closing questions or comments?
Carol,
No.
Andrew Mangano here.
Yes,
Just
Andrew.
wondered if I could call you sometime about borrowing that comms cable from the James has been used. I don't know who to talk to, yourself or James. About
No,
comms.
talk to me, Andrew. So you've got my mobile number?
Oh, it's going to ring the 6262.
Yeah,
number.
just ring the 6262, please. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we'll
I'll
sort
give you a
that
call
out.
tomorrow or sometime
Yeah.
in the next few days. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, perfect. No worries. Awesome. Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Who's doing the sign off?
Oh, I am. So, alrighty. So, obviously, we'd normally get Pete to do the first part of the sign off, but of course, he's having far too much time in the USA, gallivanting around in his Cyber Beast, looking at rocket launches, factory tours. He's probably even in New York by now. I'm not even sure. Robotaxis. He's just having a terrible old time in Tesla Heartland, or should I say, perhaps his long-suffering family are enduring his boy's own adventure. But basically, what I would always do is ask Pete how he'll round out an awesome show like this, as if I didn't already know. To which he would always respond, as usual, stay safe, or as always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve. And of course, I would always answer with, and the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Harold. Good night.